Welcome to the Tradies in Business podcast with your hosts Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Divert your phone and grab a brew as Waz and Nick unpack tips, tales, secrets and stuff-ups from guests both inside and outside your trade, helping educate and inspire you to break the cycle of gut-busting and money stress and create a true trade business.
Alrighty, g'day listeners, and welcome to the Tradies in Business podcast. This is Waz, and I'm joined by a slightly croaky Coxie.
Hello.
I think you said to me through the week that you had your old lady smoker's voice or cough or something going on.
I've got the cough happening, absolutely. We've got the double whammy. Sorry, listeners.
Yeah, nice. So you'll hear a lot of me in this episode.
Yeah, I'm taking a back seat for a change.
Coxie was being quiet for a change. It was weird.
It is weird. Well, I found I really struggled with this podcast because we're interviewing a lady called Nicole.
Yeah.
So every time you said Nicole, I'm like, yes.
It's a bit off-putting, actually.
It was very different.
So, yes, we were talking to Nicole Hurkens in today's episode. She is one half now of Overlanda Caravans down in sunny Ararat in Victoria, working with her dad.
Sunny or cold?
Sunny and cold. But, yeah, working with her dad, came into the business a little while ago. Basically, her old man got himself into a bit of strife. And Nicole's sort of got an accounting background, and she's a CPA now, and basically came in to sort out the old man, sort out the crusty old tradie, and straighten him out. So it's a real tradie wives with a difference. Rather than working with her husband, she works with her dad. But I think very similar dynamic there as far as, you know, tradies perhaps being a little resistant to change.
Just a little.
And systems and technology and getting contracts. And she talks about losing money on a job because there wasn't a contract. It was basically a chicken scratch quote, I suspect. And yeah, all sorts of stories in there. And sadly, her father was diagnosed with cancer about 8-9 months before we recorded this episode. And he's undergoing treatment and still working in the business. So yeah, that's brought a whole new perspective to, I guess, the way he works and also the way they work together. So Nicole's got some great insights. That's Nicole, not you, Nicole.
Not Coxie.
Yeah, not Coxie. Coxie doesn't have any insights today. She's too sick.
None. I'm really quiet. Enjoy that.
Enjoy our next Real Tradie Wives episode. So we're joined today by Nicole Hurkens, which means I'm really going to have to refer to Nicole as Coxie. That's the other Nicole, the co-host Nicole that you're used to hearing, listeners. Nicole Hurkens, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So this is another Real Tradie Wives story. So in that vein, Nicole, I gotta get the right Nicole's going here.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah. Tell us, how did you end up being a tradie wife, and you are also involved in your dad's business as well. So kind of give us the timeline of how that's all unfolded and how you've come to be here today.
Sure, no worries. Actually, my tradie partner is actually my father from Overlanda Caravans. So my journey would have started, my father and mum already had a company doing custom cabinet making down in Melbourne from the mid-'80s, from when I was born. And they were hit by the recession, late 80s, early 90s. Had a lot of builders go bust, and they sort of went bust with them. And it was a case of, right, we've got to sell up and move up to the country where it's cheaper to live. Otherwise, we're going to go bankrupt and lose our house anyway. So then we packed up from Melbourne and we moved up to a little tiny town of Ararat, 2 hours away. And we continued doing the cabinet making. And it would have been in the mid-'90s, around 98 then, Dad got a contract with Brits Australia, which is now called Maui. He was doing all the camper van conversions, and then these vans would go back to Melbourne and they would obviously be hired out around Australia. So that went really well. The contract ended, and as a lot of trades had to have something to show for his money, So everyone got paid. There was still a tax bill, and things got tight again because there just wasn't any cash flow management and all those other important things that go into managing the business on the inside.
Yeah.
And basically from there, it spurred me into wanting to go into accounting to help, because the struggles of seeing the stress that my parents went through was, really hard. But we always had two loving parents and plenty of food on the table and warm clothes on our backs and a bed to sleep in. But I could see Mum going to bed at night crying, and Dad went for 4 weeks. He was out in the veggie garden doing manual shoveling just to try and deal with his depression, which obviously was not diagnosed at the time either. And yeah, so from there he ended up going back to Melbourne to work for Overlanda Caravans, which was run by Joe Sturpin at the time. Dad did his cabinet making apprenticeship back with Joe in the 1976 to 1980.
Wow.
And yeah, it's very cool. So Overlanda Caravans custom manufacture food vans, big canteens, coffee vans, camp drafters, and also worksite caravans for councils and civil construction. So Dad went down there to get away from the business and go back on wages. So, it's a bit more manageable when you're not your own boss. And Joe just happened to turn around one day and say, "Oh, Gerald, I'm getting a bit tired of this and I think I might like to retire. Do you want to buy the business?" So he's like, "Oh, great, let's jump on this." And Jerry went back and brought the business. He was living and working in Melbourne Monday through to Saturday, home up in Ararat for overnight and back to it, and he did it for 5 years.
Wow.
And it was really unsustainable. The rent for the factory was $60,000 plus another $30,000 in outgoings, and because he's got his history of not being on the finances enough because he just wants to be busy with his hands.
Yep.
Things were getting a bit tight, and it's a case of he was so tired, we moved the factory up to Ararat. And that was the good decision. Even now, 8 years on, our overheads, including rent, electricity, etc., are about $20,000.
Gosh,
So
that's a big
massive
difference.
saving. It is. And, yeah, basically in between the move and that, I had obtained my accounting qualification and my CPA and taken over the books because his bookkeeper wasn't any help. And the accountant was the one they adopted from the old business owner, Joe, and he was out looking after Joe and not looking after the business. So, yeah, basically I came in. I'm now 50% shareholder, 50% director, and he's the bronze and I'm the Ministry of Finance.
Yeah.
Your dad
And,
must be so proud to have you involved in the business.
Oh, he is, and I'm very lucky to have him too.
Sure.
He brought me up that I'm capable of doing anything that anyone else can, and we're very much equals. Like, we piss each other off at times, like all partnerships do.
Absolutely.
But we're pretty good. But obviously Dad's a bit of a fossil, has his own way of doing things, and has for a long time. So it is a continual struggle to try and get him up to newer technology, transferring handwritten plans into AutoCAD and using software instead of handwriting your quotes, but we'll work on it. But the hardest thing for us recently was October last year. He was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer and secondary in the liver as well.
Wow.
And it's from this time last year, he was going, "Oh, it's a cold, it's a flu," and then he was spewing his guts up and other issues, and it's a case of you get up to the hospital or I'll drag you up there. Within 2 hours, he had a CT scan, and we saw the little donuts and cauliflowers in his liver, and it basically went on from there. So immediately I went into autopilot, and you're really stressing and thinking, "Oh my God, I don't know what goes into making a caravan," and how to team going to be amazing enough? So Dad was basically out of it for a good 3 months, and but all of the processes and things we had worked really hard at over the last 8 years to improve the business have really helped. Dad has chemo every second week. He comes home and has naps every weekend. But you need to ask for help. You need to empower and trust the people you've got. And we do still have different struggles every day. But what do you do? It's just a journey. We've still got him and he's still here.
That must have been a super challenging time for you personally, Nicole, in that, yes, you do have this business to run, but it's also your dad that's really sick, and it's hard to take on all of those emotions. That's a lot of stuff to deal with at once.
It is, and to be honest, because I did go into autopilot, a lot of those emotions are only coming out now because I've got time to breathe, and obviously things come to the top, and we're working through it. But it's not easy, but life wasn't meant to be, I guess.
I don't know. I have this discussion regular with my girlfriends, and I think life can be easy for those that don't want to strive, but for those of us that want to strive for something a little bit more or a little bit extra or a little bit better, life can be very challenging at times. So, yeah, I half agree with you, and I half think, oh, well, there's an easy road. It's just probably not a fun one.
Yeah, easy's not for us. We always want to do something better.
So what's been, I guess, and I was having a conversation with my wife last night at the dinner table about people that say everything happens for a reason, and my wife was saying she's not so sure about that one because there's some really shit things that happen that appear to have no reason whatsoever, and she prefers to say to people that good can come from anything, and there may not be a reason for it, but good can come from it if we look for it and if we find it. So, it's a pretty traumatic situation for you and the family, and potentially quite difficult for the business. Has there been any good come from all of this, Nicole?
Yeah, I suppose the main thing, like cancer or any traumatic event, is a big slice of perspective on a plate, realistically. For the last 60 years, Dad's been a worker. It's all he's done. He's never gone and had life experiences, hasn't really travelled. So you've got that side of it. It was a real eye-opener to see the smaller things we have implemented over time, how successful they have been. It's also opened up to show, look, there's further gaps in here, and we've got a list that, as we find improvements, it all goes in there and we're working through it.
Yep.
Realistically, it goes to show the team you've got around you, like our boys at the factory, Laurie stepped up into the office to help do the quoting and looking after the customers. We immediately put on a welder, and we also have a part-timer who does all of our servicing, and then a cabinet maker too. So everyone stepped up to be multi-skilled, and our quality of our product and service has not been discounted. But it's also about asking for help and communicating. Like, obviously, you don't want cancer to be an excuse, but there was a time there where I had to say to some customers, and this one was, he's got a really good arsehole indicator on him, excuse me. Something's not his way, he jumps up and down, and even though you may have all the facts, he's someone you can never please, and once this job is picked up, we'll never do another job for him. And you said, look, I'm sorry, Dad's got cancer. I'm taking over this process of working with you too. Please be patient. Obviously, the job will have to be extended out a few weeks. And, yeah, I copped it. And I've copped it since. But some people are just assholes, and we can choose not to work with them.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people miss that, I think.
Yes.
Sorry, Coxie.
No, I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to work with those people. Sometimes they catch you unawares, but as you say, generally there's a good indication before you sign that contract or before you begin the job that this person is going to be trouble to work with. And you can make that choice. I think that's a great point. Nicole, I'm really interested to know those first, I guess, few months when you were working with your dad and you came into the business. What did that look like for you? Was it, in my own personal journey, it was really uncomfortable for those first actually couple of years until I found my feet and found my way, because I don't know how to build a house. I still can proudly say I don't really know all the steps in building a house. I could probably bluff through it, but I don't know the whole story of it, I suppose. So my first bit was challenging. Did you find that similar, or is because you were, I guess, on the fringe part of this business for a long time, did you find it a bit easier?
I suppose because we're brought up treating people as equals and no one's better than the other. Back in the days when I first started taking over the Ministry of Finance side from Overlanda, and I saw the mess things we were in, and that was probably because there was very minimal foundations in there. If you honestly want to know how bad things were, we do build fifth wheelers. They're the size of semi-trailers which have several slide outs. It's basically a house on wheels, and a lot of people who have the rides at the Melbourne Show and Carnival showman type families have these. He was building one from scratch. These people we know sort of say they have money but they don't, but long story short, the project blew out because the people didn't keep up with their schedule of payments. But later I found out, when we were ready to move and the unit had to be shifted, there was a quote written. There was never a contract, nothing signed. And then I had organised a independent company to tow it from Melbourne up to Ararat for us so we could keep it. And mind you, this is before I knew there was no contract. And Dad had organised the owners to come and save money. The fifth wheeler went out. It was pretty much finished, but it had to come up to the factory because there was things further we wanted to do on it. It was fully compliant and registered, but anyway, never saw the fifth wheeler again, and there was about $60,000 outstanding.
Oh no!
Anyway, long story short, the people. We went down to Geelong show to see them, to see if there's some things they wanted and see if we could get any money. And it's like, oh, yeah, we'll bring it up next week, blah, blah, blah. Broken promises. It never turned up. Nicole cracked the shits. Got straight on to the solicitor, sent them a Dear John letter, and basically we got a Dear John letter back saying there's this and that wrong with it, even though from our perspective that's true because we know our quality and we know for a fact that one of their kids kicked in one of the walls. And anyway, list goes on. And so basically we've got a list back saying there's this and that wrong. Leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. And our advice from the solicitor was, unless you want the risk of paying $20,000 to me in fees, whatever their fees are, if you go to court and you lose, only to, sort of get $10,000 out. So we left it. And that's when I said, I've had a gutful. If you want to spend a penny, it's happening absolutely in your decisions and jobs, anything at all, we decide together. If we don't agree on it, don't agree on a process, it's out.
So I'm go on, Nicole, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're right.
I was going to say, if you do like a good, it's very horrible, but if you do like a little bit of karma, if it exists, the people that own it never actually had it insured, and 2 years ago they had it parked on the side of a hill and the truck broke down, so they called a tow company to come and move the fifth wheeler. They pushed back in the wrong direction and the fifth wheeler rolled sideways down a hill. They called a crane driver to come and lift it up. The crane was too light to carry, to lift the load.
Oh, no.
So it toppled down the hill an extra 2 times.
Shit.
And the people tried to go to the tow truck company to get money out of it. No luck. They couldn't get it out of the first crane company, and they're trying on the second. But 2 years ago, if they would have taken the original settlement of $150,000, we've just heard they've only been offered 50 now. And I'm absolutely devastated because it was such a beautiful unit, and you wouldn't wish that on anyone. But I guess it's now worth what they paid.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry.
Well.
There's a little bit of satisfaction in there for us.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You've got to take those little wins wherever you can.
So I never sort of worked in a full business capacity with my dad, and I know this is a Real Tradie Wives episode, but it's sort of turning into a how to work with your parents episode, I think, or how not to. But yeah, Dad and I haven't always seen eye to eye on things. And he's an old school tradie, you know, his way is fine and it's fine. Why do we need to change things? You know, technology is bloody bullshit and it's just made the world a worse place and all that. How on earth have you gotten your dad to actually get on board with any of that stuff, Nicole?
He doesn't have the attitude that this is going to make my life hell. I suppose the cancer has really opened him up a lot more because he's got to be open to change.
Yep.
But to start off with, it's more about finding, like you may have the end result of, I want to use this software to link into Xero to help us with our quoting, our job costing, time, and all of that sort of stuff. So it starts off with a process. Like I can explain to him this is going to be a fantastic result and why. But he's like, I'm not going to get the hang of it. So you started off with a process, and basically that was his paper-based. So I would still let him draw down his quotes, and I'd say, we'll sit down, go through them, agree on them, and then I would sit there beside him while it took 3 hours to show him how to enter it into the system. You've got to be... both of you have to be open to how the other one learns. Yeah. And even now, our next process will be going to hire someone else to help in the office so they can assist with that data entry to sort of quicken it up.
I think it's a really good... sorry, Nicole. It's a really good... example for tradie wives who no doubt listen to the show, and it's like, my tradie's never going to do that. He won't change. He won't see the benefit in it. It's going to take him more time, or he's going to have to learn how to use a new platform, or stop writing stuff on the back of bits of timber and then translating that to the back of receipts.
You've been looking in my office, haven't you?
But it is, I think, important to go into that with a process of how to affect that change, how to implement that change, rather than saying, this is great, we need to do this, and, you know, the tradie just freaking out about it because it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to make my life miserable.
I think it's also about a language change, and you tend to talk to your partner or your father, in your case, Nicole, like they are that person in your life. They're your significant other, so you tend to sort of shortcut the conversation, I suppose, rather than talking to them like they're a member of a team or a staff member, or, you know, there needs to be a real shift in the way that you communicate about the work stuff so that it becomes, I guess, less personal. Otherwise, it's all personal, and suddenly everything you say means that I think you're a failure or you're not doing something right, rather than it just being a conversation about, here's the benefits of using this particular computer program, this is how we're going to roll it out, let me know your thoughts. It becomes very much...
That's very true.
Yes, we got a bit of a lag here today. Sorry,
we've
Nicole.
We've got the Brisbane internet lag. So you're in Ararat, Nicole, and my office is in Toowoomba, and I reckon Ararat and Toowoomba have the fastest internet in Australia, potentially, compared to Brisbane.
Oh, ours is terrible.
Which is woeful.
Yeah, no, it's not going to flash down here. You'll be sitting there doing a 5-minute task over about 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah, it's the same like that here. It's terrible.
Well, maybe I just get looked after in Toowoomba.
Oh, stop it.
They must have heard I moved to town.
I'm not moving to Toowoomba. It's too cold.
It's a beautiful town. It's not as cold as Ararat.
Well, that's true.
You haven't been to Ararat then?
Yeah.
I'm not moving there either. I'll stay in Brisbane, thank you.
So
we're the Antarctica of Australia.
Yeah. So I want to ask a question, Nicole, about that, of being in a regional area. You know, you're a couple of hours out of town. You're running a fairly sizable business with some big contracts, and you've got transport and all that sort of stuff. How have you managed that sort of regional business playing on a big stage?
Yeah, it's really quite interesting. We did have a lot of fears when we were in Melbourne, because we do custom manufacture, and everyone says Melbourne or big city hub. We were very scared that we would move to the country and we would have no work. It did take about 6 months to clean out the old work and start getting some new ones in, but we've actually been open to have quicker cash flow jobs like servicing, repairs, insurance work. And because we have improved and have a long way to go actually on our internet presence, people just find us, and I'm going to go along the line of actively finding people. But realistically, if you're planning properly, each week we do a run sheet of all of the parts that we need for the jobs for a fortnight's time, and we will order those, and if there's enough, we'll either drive down to Melbourne to pick them up, or we'll just get them freighted up. The freight cost actually isn't too much. And the overheads realistically are so much less. Any small differences you absorb, but we're better ahead in those aspects. But if you were sort of talking about our finished caravans, we delivered 2 recently up to Liverpool Council up near Sydney, and we actually drive them ourselves. It gets Dad out of the office. It allows him to connect with his clients, and we're able to go through a full run of our product. But it's all about being prepared, having a plan, communicating, because we do have issues at times with the boys not saying, before they run out, saying, look, we need more of these, like just our everyday products. And then we occasionally do get stuck because we don't have anything left of what they need. But that's a process that we've got to work through. But there's always one culprit, but anyway. But the change, you've just got to really try and have a presence and make sure you're planning and communicating. Make sure you're ready to do the work.
Have you found it difficult to, on the staffing side, being regional, to actually find and retain good workers?
We've had Gordon, who's been with Overlanda for a long time, actually, probably about 15 years.
Wow.
We inherited Gordon and he moved up to Ararat with us.
Wow, that's a dedicated staff member.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty much a part of the family, really.
That's awesome.
We're very lucky to have him. Then we sort of had job agencies contact us, and Dad's like, I've got this friend, and we would try them out, and we're still all friends and there's no hassle, but because we didn't have the proper process in place about defining what we need in the business and what qualities we need in a person, Dad was just finding anyone he thought might be good, and obviously that's not a sustainable practice. And until we found our next main guy, Laurie, we were just very lucky to find him. But a lot of businesses, you just go through so many and you can still not find the right labour. And I was speaking to one of my friends one day, and it's we were in a tight spot. Dad had cancer. I needed a welder. And I said, I'm sick of trying to take what I can get. It doesn't have to be like that. What can I do to try and get the right candidate? So I sat down with Dad and I said, right, what jobs is this person going to do? And it's like, right, well, we need a welder, and they need to be good at doing this, this and that. But realistically, with the way we work, we're not going to have full-time work for a welder. We also need them to be an all-rounder, someone happy to jump in and learn different things and fill in gaps. Our next thing was, what qualities do we want this person to have? We want someone that's going to be happy to be at work because they want to be and not because they have to be. And they're also going to fit in with our other team. If you put the wrong egg in there, they bring the rest of it down. And then we had to make sure their values line up with what ours are. So we're all about the quality. We're all about working together. Fairness amongst equals, and there's a few others there. So basically I went through and wrote up a position description outlining all of those details, a bit of history about our business as well, and then also what was on offer remuneration-wise. We could make a 4-day working week for them, hourly rates, and we have a challenge every day and all of those sort of benefits. It doesn't always have to be about the money. I condensed that all down into an ad, and I went straight to Seek and I put it on there. And I thought I'll try Indeed as well, put it on our business page on Facebook, and I let it roll only for about a week, and I had about 100 applicants.
Wow.
I was really, really surprised. And you obviously have probably about 70% of them people just wanting a job. About 30% did have skills, but I very sort of quickly did my background and ruled out whether they weren't going to be the right personality or have the right work ethic, etc. And funny enough, the guy we ended up employing, Jeff, he was from half an hour down the road at Stawell, was working with another local welder who retired a couple of years ago. Jeff was working for himself, wanted to go back on wages and have a bit more normality in his life, and he's been absolutely fantastic. I got him up and had a meeting with him and Dad. Then we met with the team, and we had all the right feels, and he came and did a trial, and we actually didn't look at anyone else.
Great.
But I think because we could have been very, very lucky, but I do feel that because I did the right process of really identifying what we needed and what we wanted, we were able to get people who connected with that. And now we've got Jeff.
That's fantastic.
Yep. So, that whole can't get good staff comes back again to having the right processes in place and following them as well.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to settle for mediocre. You just have to know what you want, and you have to be prepared to put the effort in to look for it. Because realistically, without my boys, we would be screwed. But honestly, we would. No, it's true.
Yep.
Because I've got a busy life outside of work. I've got my own business. My hubby's family have 10,000-acre farm. I've got 2 kids. I've got a lot to look after, and if I didn't have the team there, I would probably be in a mental hospital. I'm still allowed to go home and have a family life. I'm allowed to leave work at the door, and that's where it should be.
That's great.
That's a good point. So, Nicole, you're a woman in a bit of a man's business, which is the case for most trades, I think, these days still. Have you found any issues there, or what's been your experience of kind of coming into a fairly blokey sort of a business and being one of the bosses, actually?
I hate putting myself on a pedestal. I like to think I'm a part of a team and don't have to pull the boss card too often. But I guess because Dad and I have always considered ourselves equals, and also amongst our team as well, I haven't had any pushback from within our business or our suppliers. Occasionally I get male customers come in and they'll sort of look at you and you'll greet them and do all the right things and say, I'll just find someone to help you, or there might actually be something I might know about when it comes to a caravan. And they're like, I just want to speak to Laurie, or I want to talk to Gerald. And sometimes it does. Some people are just assholes again, but a lot of the time they've just previously dealt with those guys and they feel comfortable with their service and what they're getting. And sometimes it can be the age bracket, like the older generation. We have a lot of farmers around here who come and get spare parts. Sometimes it's just a thing of, the wife has always been at home, keeping house, looking after the children. I don't think she's going to know a lot about what I'm after. So I'm just going to ask for the dude.
Yeah.
But
just those stereotypes.
It's not too bad for me, but and I'm very good at asserting myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that it would be something that a lot of other females, like partners, mums, would struggle with, because we do a lot of the time put everyone else's needs first. We don't, put ourselves out there that, we're experts at doing this too. A lot of us say, oh, it's hubby's business, but they're equally behind the scenes doing the back work to support them. It's just case-by-case scenario, but it's a real thing out there.
I think you raise a great point. It was something that I struggled with for a long time, and it was my own self-belief at the end of the day, and changing the way I thought about myself and my role that changed then the way everybody else saw my role. And the first thing was defining my role with a name rather than just being the builder's wife. I actually had a role. It was my business as well. I was a director and a partner. So those things were really important to the way everybody else then saw me. And I think that's something that gets lost. A lot of us sort of fall into the job and don't ever create a title for ourselves. It's a really simple, in fact, I ask everybody that I deal with outside of the podcast, what is your role? What do you call what you do? Most of them don't have a clue. They haven't come to a decision about who they are and what it is that they're doing. But once that's defined, I've found every time clients would fall into line with understanding that that's what my role was, or the staff would fall into line understanding that's what my role was. It really just, that bit of clarity, not only for myself and for my husband, but for our business and clients, made a big, big difference.
Yeah, I suppose a big changing point for me as well. Like, yes, I have always said I'm in the business with Dad because that's his baby. And if I'm not there to support him, I don't want to see him fail. Mm. And I had always said that if anything happened to Dad, then, the business is his baby. I would just close it and off we go. Mm-hmm. But the cancer was actually a turning point. And even though I wanted to make the business the best it could be, I'm now on the different side, and let's build something we can eventually sell. Because it is, it's got the makings to be something amazing. But it was very interesting how I found my mind change on that level.
So it's something that I wanted to ask Nicole is, what does the future look like for the business and for your families respectively? Yeah,
so when you're in business, it's very hard to go down those lines of, if you want me to build this, I can do that for you, and yes, I can do that. We've really spent a lot of time over the last few months really going back to just specifics that we're going to do, like say our food vans, our camp drafter vans and worksite vans, and then we're undergoing a new branding with our logo, and we need to really improve on our internet presence. So the website's getting redone. We want to get onto, we've got Facebook, we want to do Instagram and also go onto YouTube. I really want to, we do a fantastic product and our boys really look after our customers, but I really want to increase that customer experience. So that would be doing educational videos saying, look, when you're looking to buy a new caravan, and actually walking around a caravan with Dad and showing what you should be looking for, how to roll out an awning, or giving people advice on if you look, if you're looking to get a diesel heater or whatever you want to do, just giving more back to the community in hope that they're going to see that we're a good business, we do a good product, and they're going to come back and support us as well. But realistically, I really want to consolidate what we've got and make the best of it, and get our manufacturing line, increase the amount of caravans we put out. But I want to make sure our foundations are right and our processes are okay first. And we're working towards getting our quality accreditations. So I'm very excited about doing that. and I'd probably like to get an apprentice. Like, there's just so many things I want to do, and we just have to outline the right foundations first, and we'll be able to tick them off in time. But the most I want to see out of it, I want to see that all of my staff are happy and they have a good life and they get something out of the business as well. I want to see my dad here for a long time, because him and Mum mean the world to me. Like, he really is a rock for me. You know, and I want to be able to have more time with my kids and my husband. So, lots of things. Sorry,
it's a big list. I was just running through them all in my mind. I've got another question to ask, which I haven't asked before on the podcast, and Coxie doesn't know I'm going to ask this question because I literally just thought of it then. But
way to announce it. Build it up.
Part of our why, our purpose at Tradies in Business is to prevent tradie business fails. You know, it's such a big cause of relationship stress and the mental health issues we have here in Australia with, well, adults, but particularly, you know, men and men in the trades. And I guess the tradie wives and, you know, the daughters working with their dads, they're sort of... they're almost the unseen supporters in the background that are really such a critical part of these trade businesses. The question I want to ask, Nicole, is what do you think we as a trade community, or as, you know, as a I guess a society, can do to prevent tradie business fails?
So it's all about, like, sometimes you only hear about people's you know, rough times until it's too late, when they're really, really sinking. People really find it hard to ask for help. And I do find that there's not enough education or resources out there to give people the right business literature about the processes and understanding their numbers in the first place to try and keep them above where they need to be. So that's why I'm working on Tradie CFO myself. We're going to be empowering businesses and individuals to create lives and businesses they love. And that's going to be rolled out through really teaching them about their numbers and instilling business confidence in them, because our businesses do intertwine with our individual lives. Yeah. And we need to, you know, have them both right. And I'm going to be offering that in a free program down the track. But I suppose when we were really in trouble and I was, you know, we really suffering, you know, a lot of sad thoughts with all the pressures and stresses you've got, ask for help. You're not the only person out there going through a time that's rough, and realistically there's always someone having a harder time out there than you. Yeah, you just have to talk. There is a lot out there you can do. Like, yeah, once you start talking and sharing, you can then find the help that you need. And don't think that just because you're in a bad situation, or if you're struggling mentally or emotionally, you're not weak. We're all human. Yeah, like, it's a struggle I go through every day, actually. But yeah, you surround yourself with the right people and please talk. Because you might feel really low right now, but it really doesn't have to be that bad.
Yeah, it's such great points and great advice, Nicole. Thank you. So I guess at this point we should give you the opportunity to plug, well, a couple businesses. Where can people find out more about Overlanda, and I guess, you know, give us some deets on Tradie CFO, and where can people find out more about both of your businesses?
No worries. So with Overlanda Caravans, you can check us out on Facebook, or you can check out our website, which is a shambles at the moment. We're working on that. Another process, isn't it? Yeah, so if you're looking for any custom manufactured caravan that's not run-of-the-mill Jayco, we'll be able to help you out.
Nice.
And if you are struggling in those aspects of your business, you're not set up right, or you need educating on how to use your programs properly, anything from understanding your numbers, in interpreting them, to put in a strategic plan. We work in with your bookkeeper and your accountant or your business coach, which are important to have a mentor as well, and really start you off on a journey to get better for yourself and for your business. So you'll be able to find us on the internet at justtradecfo.com.au, and if you have any questions, we're always happy to answer, no problem.
Good stuff. Well, Nicole, thanks for your time today. You're obviously a busy lady with 2 businesses, 2 kids, 2 grown-up kids to deal with a father and a husband by the sounds of it.
Don't forget the about 10,000-acre farm.
Yeah. And a bunch of workers and customers. So yeah.
Thank you very much for having me, and really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Been a pleasure, and certainly all the best from us here and all of our listeners for your dad and his ongoing vitality.
Thank you so much.
Okay, listeners, if you enjoyed that and you want to meet some more real tradie wives / daughters / partners / friends, you need to come and join our Facebook group. It's totally free. It's lots of fun. Lots and lots of tradies and tradie supporters. And when we say tradie supporters, we mean tradie wives, tradie daughters, tradie partners, tradie friends.
Tradie dogs?
There are a few dogs.
We haven't got any dog personas in the group yet.
Not that I've seen. But we did put a call out the other day on the Facebook page for sight dogs, and we got some very cute sight dogs back.
There's some sight dogs that I don't necessarily associate with being tradie dogs.
You mean the Groodle?
Oh, no, not so much the Groodle, because he's big. Like, he's tall.
He's big and goofy.
And he looks a bit oofy. But there's some cute sight dogs, which is
there are
good. You know, we're in the age of inclusion.
Well, that's true. Everybody gets a run.
Even the Chihuahuas.
Even the Chihuahuas.
So, yeah, go join the group. It's on Facebook. If you just go to Facebook groups and search Tradies in Business, you'll find us there. A few quick questions. And you're in with more than 1,000 other tradies in business.
It's a cool place to hang out.
Swapping notes, and there's some fantastic questions and stuff in there. I'm blown away with the supportive responses that come back as well.
Yes. Lots of experiences shared. That's what I enjoy.
Yeah. So it's super cool. So go jump in there. It's absolutely free, as Coxie said. And thanks for joining us at another episode.
Enjoy.
Hooroo.
You've been listening to the Tradies in Business podcast with Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Find out more about today's guest, tools for your trade business, and other cool stuff at tradiesinbusiness.com.au.